everyone. I'm Elena Armijo, and I'm the founder of the C-Suite Collective. This is a company I created for executive leadership coaching and wellness that supports C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, and founders. Now, more than ever, businesses are running faster and with fewer resources. Burnout, overwhelm, disconnection, and disillusionment are the new norm for teams struggling with an old paradigm. At the C-Suite Collective, we believe deeply that providing massive support for your teams through executive coaching and holistic practices will create an inclusive culture, higher levels of performance, sustainable change, and the organizational impact you desire. You can find us at the c-suitecollective.com. What do you want to be known for in the world? We'll look at that in our coaching tip for the week. And in our interview segment today, we have John Biethan. He's the president and producer of Imagine Podcasting and the host of the beautiful podcast, What Has My Attention. I remember the first time I met John. We talk about it a little bit in this podcast, and I was so struck by his warmth, kindness, generosity, and willingness to partner with me in a conversation about creating a podcast. I was unsure and not clear on what I wanted, and working with him and his team helped me really identify what I wanted to launch in the world. I hope you enjoy the episode today, and remember, something powerful resides within you. I'm here to support you in seeing it and creating it. What do you want to be known for in the world? Sometimes clients come to me and they're unclear about the legacy that they want to leave or the goal that they want to create. And one of the access points as leaders we have to looking powerfully at the future is to say, what do we want to be known for? Imagine yourself 30 years from today, or whatever timeline works for you, where you might be close to saying goodbye to this world, but still here. What would you want people to say to you in gratitude of what you've created or left? What would you want to hear about who you've been? So what qualities would you want to hear people speak to about your name? Sit down and write those all out, and then create a running list of these words, these descriptions about who you are. Post them somewhere in your space so you can see them daily and you can be present to what you're actually creating. One of the quickest ways to access legacy is to start from the future and work your way backwards. So take a minute today and ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Oh my gosh, John, I'm so excited to be with you for this podcast. I was thinking about first of all, I want to let everybody know that you are the producer of my podcast, which is how we met. We met through a mutual friend who I remember I was looking around for people that could help me with my show. I'd never done a podcast before. I was unsure if I even wanted to do a podcast because I had a lot of misconceptions about podcasting in my head. Like, everybody does a podcast and nobody listens to podcasts anymore, which I brought to you. And yeah, and we were connected by our good friend Kaylin. And I just remember in our first meeting how warm and kind and willing you were to listen to my concerns. So thank you. That's my first impression of you as someone who is a good listener and also could meet me where I was at, with where I was beginning. So I just adore you. Thank you so much for being here today.
So much. Thank you for having me so much. I mean, Elena, it's like you're my favorite. I'm just going to say it. You're my favorite podcast we produce.
Oh, don't tell anybody else on your platform. They're going to come for you. Well,
it's just, I mean, you know that I have my own podcast called What Has My Attention, focusing on women in strong leadership. So is it any mystery that your show would not be my favorite? I mean, it's just, I love it.
Well, thank you for all your support. You definitely make this podcast fun, and for everybody that's listening, the quality that you hear is all John and his team. So thank you
and
again.
The team. Yeah. Hey, I can't do it alone, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But I'm always looking for people that are better at doing stuff than me.
Same. Same. Well, tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get into podcasting, and how did you become the CEO of this beautiful company?
All right. Well, thank you. So, by the way, I'm just going to coach people here. I'm not going to say, what a great question, Elena.
Thank you.
I'm really tired of hearing that from people.
Isn't it funny?
People should just say, by the way, Elena, all the questions you're going to ask me throughout this episode, Just they're all great questions. Okay.
All the manners that people do when they're nervous.
I'm
I love
sure.
it.
Yeah. And if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. So that should tell you something. So well, it actually goes back to my father, who was an accomplished musician, lost his hearing at the age of 40.
Mm.
And he wasn't able to engage in conversations too much at the dinner table.
Oh.
And yeah, and it's kind of a longer conversation, but he was not able to be heard,
Mm.
you know. But it resurfaced throughout my life, and especially in podcasting, because in 2004, I discovered this code on a website that was an RSS feed, and I followed a link with an MP3 file or to an MP3 file, and I listened to the audio, and it was a conversation with Dave Weiner, who is one of the creators of podcasting, and he
Mm.
was like sitting in a cafe in Florida having a conversation with a guy while they were having breakfast, a friend of his. And it was just this sense, I know, it's just this sense and this feeling of being the fly on the wall or the bug on the wall, just
Mhm.
like listening in on the conversation. And I realized that it was a huge game changer because it allowed somebody with nothing or something to be said to be heard.
Mm. Mhm.
So no more having to like be on radio stations and things like that, and that expense and the inconvenience that it allowed people to create their own essential radio show, really on the internet-based radio. So that's how it started. And then I met a guy named Jeffrey Milburn at a party. Long story, artist. He was at I don't remember what year it was, but he was at a New Year's Eve party in New York City, originally from Boulder, Colorado. And it was a New Year's Eve party, and it was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? During that, it was sometime in the 70s.
Yeah.
And he wasn't into that, and he found himself sitting on a couch next to a guy, and he looked over, and it was Andy Warhol.
Whoa. Mhm.
Yeah, and so Jeffrey and Andy became really good friends, and they started giving each other art gifts. And
Mhm.
then Andy went in for exploratory surgery or something and ended up dying.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Andy really believed that Jeffrey was possibly the next big art form after pop art. So it kind
Interesting.
of left Jeffrey stranded, and he actually presented his art form called Omni Art to Sting and Madonna and some other people, but nobody was really interested. So this was a story I needed to tell.
Mm.
And then Jeffrey has gone on to do his own podcast. He's had like 250,000 downloads up at this point. But that's really how I got started. And then it was, somebody said, do you know about Yapaya Zen Center? I was living in Santa Fe at the time. So no, and I went there and I met Roshi Joan Halifax.
Mm.
And she was a very well-known archaeologist, I believe, who discovered Buddhism and bought this place and created Yapaya Zen Center.
Mhm.
So she was doing a Dharma talk on Wednesday nights, and I just offered to take the recordings they were already doing and
Mhm.
then repurpose them into a podcast. So
Beautiful.
that was 2007, and it's still going on.
Wow. Well,
So
wow. Thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing all of that. And especially as a musician myself, I hear your father's story and feel it deeply. When I was still singing full time, one of the things I was terrified of was losing my voice, right? Because not only was it my livelihood, but then, all the identity questions that I had wrapped into that career was, an existential layer of then if I don't have my voice, who am I? And so I can just imagine what that was like for your father. And I really love that we've wrapped music into this because that was something that you and I connected on very early was music outside of podcasting and coaching. And through your stories, I can really hear how much you love it and that it's a calling for you and that it led you here.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, music. Yeah, just to say, I wake up every morning with a tune in my head.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, it's something that I don't know that tune. Maybe I should write it down.
And you are a musician yourself, right? What do you play?
Well, I haven't been actively playing. I mean, it was early on, it was piano, then it was
Yeah.
electric bass guitar and garage bands and, Led Zeppelin and all that, pretty heavy into rock and roll and
Hmm.
all that. And then it was like I discovered the classical guitar and studied it seriously for 5 years. And
Wow.
then it was harpsichord because I heard it in a church,
Yeah.
strolling down on a Sunday afternoon. There was a recital and it was like it blew me away and I wanted to study it. So I did that for 2 years. And then it was jazz piano, blues piano. And I still have a piano, but I do have my favorite instrument is a ukulele right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
couple instruments, John. Just a
Yeah, just a
couple.
couple.
So full on musician is what we're saying. Yeah, well, I love that because I really admire how you take care of sound and the nuance that you bring to
Thanks.
sound and soundscapes, and even the intention with which we created this podcast to start with how do you want it to sound? How do you want people to feel when they experience the sounds behind it was
Hmm.
all from a musician's angle. So, well, I know something we were talking about before we started to record was Beyonce. Since we're talking about
Yeah,
music, what you got about this
Beyonce.
beautiful lady and her new album?
Well, I never even heard her. I think she came from Destiny's Child, right? Is that
Correct?
right?
Yep. She broke
But
out. Hmm.
yeah, but she broke, and so none of that was I aware of until I heard this album, Lemonade.
Oh, that was your
And
first intro to her. That's awesome.
that was my first intro and specifically put a ring on it.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. And it was just like, talk about truth
Hmm.
and talk about just exposure of just an emotion.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should put a ring on it if you wanted. I mean, it's sort of like that. So anyway, it was like, oh, this is dance music. So when Renaissance recently came out, I went absolutely wild because she hadn't done an album for 6 years.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful homage to all different styles of music. And much like yourself, when it came out, I just sat there and I feel like I was back in music school again, studying all of the history behind everything she'd
Mhm.
kind of woven together, her and her teams and all the artists that are credited on the album,
Oh,
the
yeah.
writers. What's your favorite one on her new album?
I the last two cuts. Do you know the
Yeah.
names?
No, I'm not going to know them off the top of my head because I just started
Yeah, and
listening
neither am
2 weeks
I.
ago.
Either am I.
That's okay.
But yeah, the last two cuts, are just but those were the favorites when I started listening to the album, but then I've
Mm.
gone back and just said, let's start all over and just take it for a complete book, not just a chapter,
Yeah,
but the whole
exactly.
book, you know.
Exactly.
So it's just got me moving emotionally and physically, and that's kind of how it translates to me.
One of my favorite things about Beyonce, Aaron and I talk about Beyonce and Jay-Z a lot in our house because we hold
Mm.
them as icons, leaders in the world. Like I'm always looking at it from the lens of leadership. How are they leading in their realm? And powerhouses, like a powerhouse couple together. What does that look like? And the thing that I most admire about her is she's unwilling to have her voice be stifled in any way.
Yeah.
It really is, she is willing to own anything that she says in the world on stage. And I really admire that. And it
Yep.
really, together, watching them build their relationship has been amazing because relationships are not easy, as you and I have talked about in our own personal relationships.
Sure.
And watching them work through it, whatever the flavor of the day is behind the scenes that we don't see, we do see
Mhm.
the result of that work, whatever it is, out in the
That's
world.
so beautifully said, Elena. My gosh.
Yeah, I like to imagine that they go through the same stuff that we all go through in terms of communication breakdowns and relationship breakdowns, and it's nice to just see people that are willing to work on it and
Hmm.
be an example of what that could look like. So,
Hmm.
so I really like her.
Hmm.
And if you haven't, do you know Solange, her sister? Have you listened to any of her
No,
stuff? Oh,
no.
oh, John, go
So
down a
just
rabbit hole. That woman is a poet. And
Love it.
Solange is almost, I love her almost as much as I love Beyonce, actually. Probably equally. But I think about that often too, how two sisters came from the same household and can make such beautiful, brilliant music. So I'd love to read more
Yeah.
on their whole family history.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Music. Yeah. Music, often I'll ask somebody, like on my team,
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about that later, but I'll just say, do you play an instrument? Yes, no, whatever. If you're going to be in a band or a group or whatever, what instrument would it be?
For me, let's see.
Sure.
What would it be? I always wanted to play the sax.
Oh, really?
I love horns. Yeah, anything horn related. I thought I was a string girl for a long time, would be interested in like the viola or the violin, but no, it's the horn section for me. You just have a lot
Oh,
of
that's
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, sax.
lately, have you been listening to anybody or any horns lately?
No, well, that's not true. Maverick City is a gospel group that they
Love
don't.
it.
I don't know that they really have a lot of horns. Who are the horn section? Lawrence. Oh my gosh, the band Lawrence. I have been listening to them about the last 6 months, I would say. They are slowly rising in fame, based in
Nice.
Brooklyn, and their roots seem to be in jazz and gospel, and their horn section is out of this world. It's really
That's
beautiful.
great. Well,
Yeah.
I am writing notes.
Great. Well, speaking of all this music, one of the things you and I have also talked about when we're looking at how to market my show or
Hmm.
who I want to be in the world has been social media. And
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I don't even know if I follow Beyonce on social media. I think I do. But what I noticed about her is that she doesn't really play that game to my knowledge. I could be totally wrong about this, but I don't see many
Right.
tweets out there from her. I don't see a lot of PR from
Yes.
her. So it gets me curious about her style and what she's chosen to be in terms of media presence and versus other people right now that are using social media a little differently. What are your thoughts?
Hmm. I think we have talked about this before, but I'm going to frame stuff often as what has my attention. It's kind of
Hmm.
like I wake up in the morning with music in my head, or I'll wake up and kind of go, aha, that's interesting. So I think social media is evolving,
Hmm.
and I'm going to take a stab and say, I do think that things are moving from attention to intention.
Hmm. Hmm.
So not everybody, but people are out there trying to grab as much attention as possible.
Hmm.
And because of how I made up and I'm easily distracted, I've pretty much eliminated most of my notifications off my phone,
Wow.
and actually, oh, sure. And the phone has a focus mode, and sometimes I use it because I'm really wanting to get deeper into whatever it is I'm doing. Because early on, I studied with a woman, Liz Davenport, who is legally blind, dyslexic, really bad. And she had to create her own system to be organized. And she was really bright. And she once said, and I found this to be true, that if you have a distraction, you're sitting at your desk doing something, and you get up for whatever reason, it'll on average take you 20 minutes to get back to what you were doing.
Wow.
So when it comes to social media, I challenge people to, do the digital detox. I've been doing that lately and it's nice. But it's the Center for Humane Technology,
Mm-hmm.
which is the nonprofit organization created by Tristan Harris and his partner and several people who were responsible for The Social Dilemma, the film on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think social media is in a big change right now. And some of the marketing people that I follow say that things are moving more and more into content. Just get the content out there. Like, yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that. And thank you for the resource. I'm going to look it up. Center for Humane Technology. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Okay.
You did.
because I'd love to read their studies or whatever they're publishing right now and follow their tips and advice. I imagine they have some of that.
And they have a podcast.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. We'll have
So,
to look that.
and just briefly, that's called your undivided attention, or your undivided attention.
Here.
So they just dropped an episode on TikTok, or about TikTok.
Oh, okay. I definitely will have to look into that because when I started on social media myself, I think I was, well, let's see, I'm 41. So I've been through all the different generations of iteration from AIM to where we are today. And what I noticed is the last 10 years or so, I had a strong resistance to wanting to be on at all because of the attention versus intention. And so one of the ways that I developed a strategy plan for social media with my team is we talked about what do we actually want to be giving to the world? And we created 4 buckets, right? And one of those buckets is education. And so there's always a post every week that I try to put out that will have some form of education in it that will be serving people as opposed to any kind of sales or buy this program or call me now approach, because
Yeah.
it just didn't ring true to who I was in the world. And even though I would say it hasn't really garnered clients, and that's actually not our goal, is to gain clients from social media. Our goal is to serve and to have a digital footprint in the world so that when people do get curious and come have conversations with us, then we do the work of, enrollment and what's possible if
And
you
they
work
know
with a
what
coach.
and they know what you stand for.
Exactly. And I will say I've been hired several times off of that notion of
Nice.
just like, hey, I noticed you said this in the world and we believe this, so we'd like to talk.
Nice.
Yeah. What are your hopes for social media in the future with where we're headed and all the research that you're studying?
Oh gosh, it's really funny. I was thinking about this earlier because I knew you would ask. I mean, we produce your podcast.
Yeah, so you know my style.
Yeah, I know your style and the questions and stuff, and that's fun. So, remember I told you I like wake up with a song every morning. So when I was thinking about it this morning, what came across my plate, so to speak, was they're going to put me in the movies. They're going to make a big star out of me. They're going to put me in the movies, and all I have to do is act naturally. So I just think people need to be themselves. You may or may not know, but regarding podcasting, I'm highly focused on private podcasting because it goes deeper, and it gives people an opportunity to really get to know you. You're not using a private podcast to do anything you were talking about, but it allows you to go deeper with people who are willing to actually trade an email address to hear what you have to say and to be yourself. And that's kind of my view to answer your question.
The hope. The hope is to go more that route of private podcasting
Yeah,
and
I
being
would
more
hope that,
authentic.
yeah, the people that would just forget, get yourself out of the future.
And be seen today, which goes back to being seen and
Yes.
heard in the world.
Yes. Yes.
Round it out.
Like I wrote a few things down before we got started here, but I don't really have an agenda.
Yeah, to be present in the conversations everywhere. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you're an incredible leader in the world. I think hopefully people are getting that by now, listening to you speak. But I'd love to know how is leading in the last 3 years, been for you, or how has it changed you?
Well, although I've been podcasting a really long time, I started Imagine Podcasting in the middle of a pandemic, no problem, July 2020, and wanted to put together a team. And largely because, like I said, I realized that I'm just not very good at being alone. and that I really love collaboration, and that there's a responsibility there in terms of team, in terms of leader. And I fully embraced Simon Sinek and his values, and Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart sitting behind me. Most people can't see it, but it's there. And really started thinking about what leadership really is, and what it is just being responsible for the people that are responsible for others, in a sense. And it's not about position or anything else. And, you and I both know that just because you have a position of authority does not necessarily make you a leader. So I've been up and down, honestly, with it. Okay. And I'm going to take the opportunity right now to say, I believe when this episode comes up, it'll be one after episode 32 with Blaine Heck, which is a must listen because Elena's coaching tip. Do you remember what it was, Elena?
I think so. Well, maybe remind us. What's it called? It's something about vulnerability, right? Vulnerability. Yep.
Yeah. So it's not like you get it. Like I thought I knew what it was, and it's not like I got it, but it's just what it spoke to me. And I realized is I need to open that door and walk through it again.
And again and
Or
again
always.
and again.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, and as you said, the more you do it, the better at it you get.
Yeah.
And I don't know what better at it you get really means. But in terms of leadership, it's like great podcast hosts listen. So it's like that too, which is that I like to listen. Like, Sam on our team, creative director and phenomenally gifted, and he comes from the East Coast, which I really love, by the way.
Yeah.
And being a West Coast boy. But, I listen to what he has to say because behind his words often are just these gems and just gold. And after podcasting as long as I have and stuff, I know that there's not a single person I've ever met that didn't have something of value to say. So it's like, it's not really my company. I feel more like a steward of something bigger than myself. So kind of to answer the question, Elena, I'm still in process on this. But in terms of leadership, it's just really important to listen.
Yeah. Especially the last 3 years, with the pandemic and with social unrest and racial conversations and the war and Roe versus Wade. I feel like the list keeps getting longer every time we look at it. Listening has been imperative for me as a leader. So I acknowledge you for being willing to listen in those times when it might not feel comfortable to sit back and listen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know where it came from, but one of the little things that pops out from my head is that comfort is the booby prize.
I've never heard that.
Well, you can use it.
I'll have to think about how that relates to my life.
Well, I'll throw out another one too. Labels are for pickle jars.
Oh my gosh, that's good. That's good. I feel like that's something my mom would say. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I had a conversation with her before we got on the call.
Yeah. Labels are for pickle jars. I like that. Well, talk to me about women in leadership, because I know this is something you are very passionate about. Watching you the past 3 years bring on guests for your show and even creating partnerships with women has been magical. So what do you get out of supporting women leaders?
What do I get? I, first of all, learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I listen. So it comes out of what I said earlier about, my father losing his hearing and not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point in this, I started podcasting actually in 2005. And it was 2006, 2007, where I had some things happen that completely changed my perspective of what I would call and do call the sacred feminine. I wasn't even aware of that term. And when I started looking around and realized that women were not being heard. And part of the reason they weren't being heard is because, well, for lots of reasons, but basically I wanted to elevate their voices to be heard. And this was it wasn't exactly real conscious, but that's when I really started working with women. Like everybody I ever worked with up until about 2 or 3 years ago were women, because it was a passion to elevate their voices to be heard. So what I get out of it is a whole lot of sacred wisdom, really. And I mean, people in business now know that women, in a real sense, make much better leaders in business, much better CEOs. And I don't know why that is, but what I get out of it is I feel grateful to be able to be a small part of being able to help women's voices to be heard. So with what has my attention, there's 3 women that I do. We have conversations once a month. It's you can just go find out. But
It's great. Please go listen to it for those that are curious.
yeah, and it's actually in a category on the website, what has my attention, called Women in Strong Leadership. And I present them, and we always have a topic, and then I simply bow out. And because I don't want to, at this point, don't want to influence anything at all. I just want to present. And I get to lay back and really I just gain a lot from listening and incorporating and just contemplating. And this is going to change. It's going to evolve because there's some men I'm meeting that I really, really enjoy. Rodney Mueller and I have been having conversations.
Excellent.
Yes. And so I want to open it up to something else. But right now it's really about elevating women's voices to be heard.
Well, thank you for being a stand for that in the world and for knowing it's important, welcoming it into your space. And this idea of the sacred feminine is maybe new to some, or maybe some have been wrestling with it for a long time. And it makes me think about my last coaching session this week, actually, with my coach. One of the things I brought to her is how I want to just have a deeper connection with my own body again, or maybe for the first time ever. And what we got to, which was really brilliant, was how now that I am a founder and a CEO and a leader in the world, how disconnected I still am, even though I am bringing the sacred feminine to those spaces, that it's still in a masculine structure, right? And that blew my mind. Like, what is a CEO track and who created CEOs in the world? And so what system is still being in place for women to follow this system? And I suddenly had this light bulb moment where I was like, oh, right. If we were left to our own devices, I probably wouldn't have created this way anyway. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have followed the system at all, which is sort of what I've done with the C-Suite Collective. It feels a little bit like it's a big creative brainstorm baby as opposed to a structure that was followed by a business school that said this is how it should be done. So I love that you brought that into the space, because for me, it's something I've just started to wrestle with around owning that sacred feminine at a higher level outside of just my voice and my thoughts. But from a body perspective and a spiritual perspective, what could I be doing and creating from, next? So thanks for bringing that in. It just resonates since it was just a conversation I was having this past week.
Yeah, no, it's great. In fact, when somebody I've followed, but not really following a whole lot now, but is Seth Godin. And Seth Godin has a program called Alt MBA. And it's basically, so when I started to find out more about that, I realized that the business structures in business are changing. And thank God for the C-Suite Collective and other organizations like that.
Thank you.
like yours.
Well, John, this has been really fun. I think we're almost out of time because we could talk forever, as you and I
Yes.
know. But what do you want to say to the world? That's sort of how I've been asking every guest to wrap up the podcast is if you could lead the world into the next year, what would you say to them?
Primarily slow down. Or as a Navajo chief friend of mine once said, slow down.
That's beautiful.
And listen.
Slow down and listen. I think that's a Post-it note forever on my computer. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here, John. I really, really adore your partnership and your friendship. So thank you so much for being such a great light in my world.
No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Love you deeply. I really do.
Thanks
If this
again.
conversation sparks something for you, let it move through your week. Take it with you, take on one small action to move the ball forward. And if you want to join our community of leaders who are daring to lead with courage and heart, you can find that at www.elenaarmijo.com or www.thec-suitecollective.com. I reserve a small number of complimentary 20-minute sessions for leaders who want clarity on what they need and insight into what is getting in the way. The practical next steps that create real movement and results in your leadership journey. So you can schedule a call through the link below. It's in the description. Like, subscribe. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and for doing the work of being human together.